Hey, Steve Morgenstern. I met James Harrison, gosh, I don't know, it's got to be 20 plus years ago at a turkey calling contest. And, we kind of hit it off, man. Since then, we've become super close friends. I mean, just like a brother. James was always mouth caller and owl hooter. And I was into the friction calling. And as things grew and our buddyship progressed, we kind of got in, and I got interested in the owl hooting. And I mean, literally, what better teacher than James Harrison, Owl Face? Hit him up, and I'm like, okay, bud, you got to help me. Help me get into this. I want to try it. I want a new avenue besides the friction calling, which I love, but the owl hooting is fun. I always owl hooted turkey hunting, but I was just never very good at it. And with the stuff that they've got out there nowadays, the progression of the products, the materials, and people like James Harrison that dissects it to the nth degree. I mean, he's created an incredible instrument to owl hoot with. And in order to do something like that, you have to have the knowledge and the know-how and the drive to keep perfecting the craft. And I mean, that's basically what he's done is he's made the best out there.
Back in the day, owl hooting has been around since the beginning of turkey hunting, and a lot of people always use your natural voice, and go from there. And as the time went along, guys started building and designing owl hooters. And back in the 70s, they had some reed hooters and stuff like that. And then from there, in the 80s, they got better as materials got better and things got better. They started making better calls, and to a point where a guy's natural voice couldn't win a competition. Now, you can still get turkeys to gobble with an owl hooter with your natural voice, no problem. But for competition calling and stuff, you needed to sound more like a real owl, and your natural voice couldn't get all the sounds that they were making. So that's when I started to work on an owl hooter for competition, but I was still using my voice to hunt. So you were just wanting to get a turkey to gobble, I'd get out there and get him to gobble. Well, in competition, I had to be better than that. And as you get older, you lose your voice and stuff like that. So I started designing. That's where I came up with the Harrison hooter from there. And then once I designed it and got it, I thought, hey, I can help guys out with this that can't hoot with their voice and stuff like that. And started selling them and going from there. And then it went on from there, building owl hooters, building more owl hooters, designing, tweaking them, getting them better and stuff like that to where we're at today with these owl hooters. And I mean, they're at the next level with all your turkey calls and locator calls now is at the next level. I mean, the materials have gotten good. We learn more about materials and how to build things, and it's just gotten to be, right now we're at the pinnacle of great locator calls like this.
He's made the best owl hooter out there, and he's been the best teacher for me just to help me with the little nuances of what it takes to score in an owl hooting contest, and the way to manipulate the call and make it do what you want to do, things not to do. And it's been fun, I mean, I've had some success at the owl hooting. And what better person to learn from than somebody that's won and has the accolades that James Harrison's got on the owl hooting stage. And then once you do that, you take it to the woods with you, and it just makes you better in everything that you do.
When I was competition calling, I met a lot of great guys. One of my best friends in the world forever has been Steve Morgenstern. We met at a turkey calling contest, and he was always a friction caller. I always ran mouth calls and owl hooted. And then as we got to know each other more, I started with him, and he was curious about the owl hooter, so I started showing him on how to run the owl hooter. And I mean, I call him Morgs. He's an accomplished owl hooter. I mean, he's taken the stage at the Grand Nationals. He's won contests before. He's placed at the World's owl hooting and everything like that. So I mean, he's come a long way, and it just, it's cool that you can bond and share a friendship and a whole relationship over game calls. And he's a big friction caller. Now I am not a friction caller in competitions, but over the years I've gotten to where, I mean, that's one of my go-to calls when I'm hunting is a friction call. Now it's all because of Steve showing me how to use them and the proper ways to use them and the advantages of using a friction call. So it's kind of neat that an owl hooter and a friction call and all that stuff is so universal that brings guys together.
So when we decided to do these pot calls, we do these small batch stuff. And how do we pick the calls? How do we pick the wood, the surface? And it's just kind of a maybe a fly-by-night decision. You pick something and you think, man, let's see what we can do with this. This year we chose a mulberry pot and a bubinga pot. And we're kind of staying with the theme of a domestic and an exotic. The bubinga, it's going to look great because it's a beautiful wood. It's an exotic, comes out of Africa. Great grain, great coloration. And with the color, the kind of the reddish with it, we decided we wanted to do red slate in it. Red slate is a super hard material. Get some variances out of it, but when you put it in that bubinga pot, it looks fantastic. So if you ask, well, how do you know it's going to play? Well, that's where the key to the whole small batch stuff comes in. You take and decide what you're going to do, and then you make that play. You make that pot play that red slate. So we've got a bubinga pot, red slate. We adjust the dimensions in that call, in that pot, to make that red slate play like we want it to play. On the other side of the spectrum is the domestic wood being mulberry. Who thinks of mulberry as a turkey call pot or a turkey call wood? Typically you have like a walnut or cherry, which is nothing wrong with at all. But we're kind of into the specialized thing where we have the mulberry. You don't hear it much, you don't see it much. And we went with a new gray slate that we put in it. Kind of paired up to be the old school, type thing. Mulberry gray slate. And again, take the mulberry, pair it with the gray slate, make the dimensions to where it will play in that. And as you go along, you have to change those. So when you start changing different things and changing woods and combinations, you just change dimensions and make it work. The mulberry bubinga combination, I think, gives us a fantastic lineup for this year, and staying with the theme of domestic, exotic. And I think we've all hit it out of the park with the help of the Phelps crew and some of the machine work and stuff that we've had done. It's turned out fantastic. We love it.
Hey, new for this year is the triple locator call. Now, what's cool about this call is it does 3 different animal sounds. It is a extremely loud and effective locator call. So no matter where you're at, whether you're out west, you're in Florida, Midwest, this call will do it all. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I designed this call and what was in my head. I competition call a lot, owl hooting and stuff like that, and a lot of guys do the owl scream for competition. Well, nobody made an owl screamer call out there, so I said, I'm going to work on making an owl scream for guys to use in competition. So that's where the idea came from. So I started working on that and developing an owl screamer, and then I started taking it out in the woods and testing it and getting the pitches and the tones right and everything, and the turkeys were absolutely going nuts over it. Every time I'd hit it, whether it be early morning at daylight or if I'd be late in the evening or afternoon, whenever I hit it, man, them turkeys would gobble at it. And it's a loud, steady volume noise, and it's non-threatening. The cool thing about that is it's not like a coyote howl where a turkey will gobble at it, but it's threatening to them. Where this owl scream, when they hit it, they hear it, there's nothing to be alarmed about, and they just hammer it. I'll let you hear that thing real quick. Just like that. So if I was in a contest, I would literally hit that scream, from like that. So now with the triple locator, I told you it does 3 different calls. So It does a hawk scream, a owl scream, and a pileated woodpecker. So on this call, when you get it, it's double O-ring sealed, so you can pull it apart and adjust it. And there's 3 grooves on the back of the call, on the tone board itself, and an O-ring. The top groove is your hawk scream, your middle groove is your owl scream, and your bottom groove is your pileated woodpecker. So what I'll do is I'll start with the hawk scream. It's at the top, and I'll do it for you, and then I'll go all the way down and let you hear all the calls. Hawk scream. We'll move to the middle. Now we're going to do the owl scream. We're going to drop that all the way down to the last groove. We're going to do the pileated woodpecker. And there you go. You know, as I was working on this and designing and developing it and trying to get all the bugs worked out of it, it was really cool because I knew if we shaved this tone board right, we would get a hawk scream, we could get the owl scream, and it's just, you know, it's 3 calls in one, so no matter where you're at, if you're out west and you've got a lot of woodpeckers and hawks, you got the call. If you're in the Midwest and you want to do the owl scream, and the good thing about these locator calls like this, like I said before, they're non-threatening, and turkeys will hit them all day long, from morning all the way till dark, and when you're up roosting birds and like that. And this is new on the market. Nobody else has ever designed an owl screamer. And when you hunt public ground like I do a lot of times it's just that different sound that they haven't heard before that makes that turkey gobble. And man, I'm telling you, you need to get one this spring. It does make a difference.
If you need some help running a pot call, click right here and I'll give you some helpful hints and tactics.